Hello friends, this is Vahid from VR Education and welcome to my channel. This is the fourth session of Streamlit tutorial, and today we're going to continue our discussion on widgets in Streamlit. We talked about widgets in previous session and get an insight about how the life cycle of an application in Streamlit would be. Today we want to check text input and text area, two important widgets that let user input some data for us, and also we may check sliders and other widgets if we have time. Sliders used to enable user to select an integer input between minimum and maximum values. And also in continue, again, if we have time, we're gonna check about select boxes. We have two different select boxes. They are drop down. In the first one, that is select box, we can just select one item among all the items. And in the other, that is multi-select, we can use more than one item between the collection that just entered into the drop-down. So let's go to VS Code and start our journey in new widgets. Okay, let's see how we can add input widgets to the output. First of all, I'm going to talk about text input, a widget that you can enter some text, and it's going to return it as a string to our code. So imagine I want to get the username from end user. So I'm going to say I have a username. It's equal to st.text input. And text area, I will talk about it very soon. For text input, again, we have a couple of parameters here, as we saw for button and checkboxes. Label, it's the label that you want to use for your widget. It's about some information that what is this text input about, the default value, maximum character. You can limit the characters inside the text widget. For example, you want your username characters up to, for example, 20 characters. The key is the ID of the input and the type. You can use text input for getting normal information such as username or address or things like that, or even as a password. When we set the type to password, the input characters will be shown as a circle. The help is for tooltip. Autocomplete, I don't know how to work with that. We need to use a markdown in ST to work with autocomplete options in text input. And this is unchanged args and KW args. We talked about it in button widget and also checkbox. We can set a callback method to run when the change method or change event of the text input triggered. And also we can pass some parameters here. We talked about them in the button widget, and I'm just going to use unchanged. We don't get into these parameters. You can see that video for more details. Placeholder disabled and label visibility. I'm going to talk about them. Let's go ahead and add a team input. I'm going to say username here. Enter your username. And if I save it, nothing happened. Why? Oh, it's session 3. I'm sorry. I'm going to run session 4. So that's it. And I have a text input here. You can enter something, and it says press enter to apply. So if I print the username to the output here, and if I print, let's just add my user, and it's going to always run. I'm going to add my username here or another one. You can see it directly printed out to the output. And if you're not familiar with the life cycle of Streamlit, I suggest you to visit the previous session. I talked about it, how Streamlit handled the life cycle. So the next option is I'm going to talk about help. It's an information about username. You can provide some information, and this will be shown here as a tooltip. If mouse hover this question mark, the information will be shown for the user. So let's get rid of this. I'm not going to use this anymore. Placeholder is a guide for end user how to enter data. For example, you want to enter some email, so you can say this is your email @server.com. With this, you can help the user how to enter its email or her email or his email. It's a good for some guide. The next one, default value again, you can not disable, not default, yeah, default equal to, for example, Annie. Yeah, I forget to add comma here. Default. It says what? Text widget expected default. Let's see. What do we have here? Oh, value. I'm sorry. We need to use value. Now the default value is Amin, and you can change it to whatever you want. For example, I'm going to change it to my name, and if I press enter, the new value will be printed to the console. The next one is max characters. Max chars, I'm going to set it to 10. Now, if you try to enter something, you can see it count the number of input, and when you get to the max, something blink on the right corner of the text, and again the text will be printed to the output. So what do we have? Yeah, type. I'm going to use type as password. Password. And if you type anything here, you just see some circles, and if you press this I button, you can see the real password you entered inside this text input. Okay, key. And also we need to set keys. I'm going to talk about key for each widget in session, in session states in upcoming sessions. Placeholder, we talked about. Disable is obvious, and label visibility. You can hide this label. For example, I'm going to change it in this way. Placeholder, enter your name, and I'm going to say label visibility equal to hidden. So the label will be hidden, and that placeholder gonna show me some information about what this text input is about. And also, instead of, for example, I want to check if username entered, it's not undefined, so print it, or do some other logic. Okay. By default, it's not going to print anything on the form, but if I entered something and press enter, it will be printed out. So I'm going to show username, and I'm going to here say print, for example, hello, something like this. So you can get rid of this part, and here in unchanged callback, I'm going to say, okay, show username. And that's, if I press enter, nothing happened. Why show username? Let's refresh the page. Yeah, okay, hello or help will be printed. And you can also get access to what entered inside inside the text widget using sessions, and we'll talk about this one very soon. So this is the text input, and the most important features that you can have alongside with this function text input. But this one is used for entering just one line of data. But if you want to enter some messages or things that you need more than one line of data, you need to use text area. Let's see what text area is about. Well, before start adding text area to the UI, I'm going to talk about some method that I forgot to tell you in previous sessions. We've talked about st.write method, and we pass a bunch of different variables or data type, and we saw that how it can render different types to the output. Today I'm going to talk about another methods that they are using for messaging things. If you want to show a message with different purposes, for example, a warning, an information, a success operation, or an error. Let's see how they're going to work. I'm going to change this variable to age, and age, and I'm going to get the age of the user. I don't need any placeholder, and let's remove all of these. Okay. Now, always rerun. So I'm going to check if age is entered. First, I'm going to convert it to integer number and then print it to the console. So I'm going to say age equal to, convert it to integer using int method. But here it might encounter some challenges. So we need to put it inside try except block, except value error as ER. Here we can do what? So I'm gonna just print formatted text your age years old. This is the success part of the application. But if we encounter an error, I need to tell the user. Let's see what we get if we use string.write er. This is just as before. I'm gonna enter 12, so you can see you're 12 years old here. And if I press, if I enter 12a, you can see a value error, invalid literal for int with trace back. This is the nature of Streamlit. But we can use string.error here. It just shows the error to the user. It doesn't show the traceback because end user doesn't know anything about traceback or call stack of our application. We just need to show some meaningful error to him or her. So with st.error, we can print an error inside a red area. This red area somehow shows something went wrong in our application. And alongside with error, we have a couple of other methods. For example, here I'm going to say st.info. It's going to show some information to the end user using a light blue background. I'm going to cut this one, remove print. And if user enter a valid number, I'm going to say you're 12 years old. This is some blue background, and blue means something informational. For success, we can use success method. It prints green, and it somehow indicates something done correctly. And also we have warning. Warning print the text in a box with yellow background. It means something maybe went wrong in future, but not right now. So these are the different type of messages that we can add to our output and tell users some information. And also, these functions support another parameter named icon. So we can use material icons here. And let me bring one of them. It's a thumb up. It's from material. You can go to documentation. Here you can see it says icon equal to material thumb up. And also this is the place that you can find other material icons. So I'm going to say, let's change it to success. For info, it's much more meaningful. And as for icon, I'm going to paste this one, icon thumb up. So you can see we have an icon here. So you can iconize your message to the end user. So this is all about how we can tell some messages or print some messages for end user. Now let's move on to text area. Text area is the same as text input. All the parameters are the same except one. Here we have a height. Height in text area indicates how tall do you need to have a text area. And my characters, again, key, help, and things like that. They are the same. So I'm going to add something like this, message. I want to get a message from user with multi-line text input, st.text area. And inside here, I'm going to say enter your message. And that's it. Okay, here you can see it's a multi-line enter data, and also you can press Ctrl Enter to apply it. Let's also print the message. So as you can see, if I press enter, Wahid, Mina, Amin, and things like that, a multiple line message will be printed to the console, and that's it. So we can also use max characters, just like text input. For example, 20 character. And here, when you type, you can see the length of your message here and the maximum length also displayed. So the user can be informed how much text he or she can enter. And also, it's a very good way to control the data input to your background service. Sometimes you don't need any message longer than 100 character, for example. You don't have enough space to save long messages. It's a very good approach. And also for height, you can pass a number. That's the number of pixels you want to dedicate for your text area. For example, I'm going to use 2000 pixel. You can see it gets a little bit taller, and you can enter more data inside the screen view before it getting scroll bar getting appear. And that's it. So I'm gonna also add a sample here. Let's just remove that part. Here I'm gonna comment this one, and I'm gonna say please enter a code snippet inside the text area, and I'm gonna put it inside a code section. So I'm gonna say sample underline snippet equal to st dot text area. Enter your code. Your code here, and as the value, I'm gonna use something like this: print hello world. So user will be informed what kind of code I'm looking for. And after that, if code snippet, sample code snippet, something entered, and we don't need to use these brackets. I'm going to use st.code. This method was a way to print some code inside the output. And we're going to say code snippet, sample snippet, and the language is Python. It is rendered as a Python language. You can see here we have print hello world, and it somehow get prettier for Python languages. I'm going to change it, for example, to something like this: diff great param1, and then oops, what's happened? Print formatted string hello param1, and that's if I press Ctrl Enter, you can see the method will be rendered here inside the code section. The user can copy this code in a way that Streamlit provides for us. Another input that we can use in our application is a number input. Here you saw that I received the age from text input, and for my logic or my business, I need to convert it to int. So Streamlit provides another way to receive real number from the input. Let's see how is it working. For number input, this is the signature. We have much more items here. We have a label, minimum and maximum value. We can provide these two to restrict or to bound the user inside a range. User cannot enter something out of this range. It's very good to control the input and also the default value. A step is the way that we click on the plus or minus on the screen. How should user how much should the value increase or decrease? And the key is the identifier help, and other things are just like other widgets. I'm not going to get through them. So let's add another one. I'm going to say st.number input enter your age. Let's see, what does it look like? By default, it's a float value. And these are two options that you can also work with them. By default, this step is by 2 digit after decimal point, okay? So you can change it. What if I pass, for example, mean value 0 and max value equal to, for example, 100. Now this time, because these values are integer, so the input changed into integer. Now I can change, and the step by default is 1. So let's change the step. I'm going to use step equal to 10. Whenever I press this plus, the value increased by 10 or decreased by 10 here. This is the value of a step. And I'm going to use this, okay, for example, my age. And let's print type of my age to see if it's real number or not. So if I save, and here I press, or I just something went wrong, or oh, I forgot to save it. Okay, you can see it's class int. Okay, if I just continue to change it, after any change, the program reloads. And if I get rid of these items here, you can see by default the class is float, or the type of data is float. It's floating point, so you don't need to convert it to anything else. And let's see. As for a step, let's see what other type of input here we have. A step format. Also, we can provide a format to show the data inside this area. So let's get back to float type. Oops. Let's remove all this one, and I need the floating one, number input with 2 decimal points. So I'm going to change it and add a format to this just for 1 decimal point. So you can format with this string. You can also read about more format type inside the documentation. So if I save, you can see here I have just 1 decimal. And if I press this one, it doesn't make any change when I clicked it for 10 times, because by default the step is set to 2 decimal points after 0. So I'm going to change it also. A step equal to just 0.1. Oops. I forgot to add this one. Save. Now if I press button, you can see it changed immediately, and it does not need to press it 10 times. And that's it for number. You can also set a default value. For example, I'm going to say main value equals to 10 and max value equals to, for example, 50. And the value, the default value is, for example, 30. So by default, 30 is set inside the number input. And that's a good way to load some default values for a user. And user, if need to change the value, has some options here, or even he can directly enter data. For example, I want to use 45 here. Okay, that's it. Another way to receive input is a slider. So this is the last things we will cover in this session. The session is getting a little bit lengthy, so this is the last one. So let's comment all these out, and also this one. We don't need all of these. A slider is another widget that user can enter some values for us, but in a slider we don't have the capability to enter data directly. We just have to move a knob inside a widget. What does it mean? Let's add a slider directly to the form, and I'm gonna say enter oops, QTY quantity. That's it. So this is the slider. By default, mean and max set to 0 and 100. The default value is 0, and you can move the slider by drag and dropping this knob in this area. This is somehow stylish and give a good sense or feeling to the end user. And also, as you can see here, we have mean value, maximum value, the default value, and a step again, format, and things like that. So and unchange things like this, we covered them in another widget, so we won't get into detail for these ones. One important thing here, that just like number, we can use minimum and maximum value of float and integer in slider alongside with date time. That's the beauty of slider. So let's check a couple of them. For example, I'm gonna say min value equal to 10 with 1 decimal, 10.0, and maximum value it's equal to, for example, 50.0. So it changed to a decimal slider, as you can see, from 10 to 50 with 2 decimal points. And you can also use this format that we just used above. Let me write that. Format. Okay, 0 point, for example, I forgot the percent, 1 F. This is gonna show just 1 decimal point for our slider. And also, we can use it for range values. It's a very cool feature. What does it mean? For example, I'm gonna pass a tuple to value with 2 values. Okay, the range should be something between 15 and, for example, 25. Oops, I forgot to add the 0. The type should be the same for all of them. If the min and max value are integer, the value should be integer also. So you can see we have a range picker. That's good for sometimes when you want to filter your data based on a range for int, float, and even for date. It's very funny that you can use it for date also. What does it mean by date? Let's comment this one, and I'm going to say from date time import time. I'm going to work with time right now. It's, for example, for you want to add an appointment time. You want to use it to be able to select the appointment time. So I'm going to say appointment equal to st.slider schedule. Schedule. It's very hard to write. Your appointment. And then for the value, I'm going to use time. I'm going to provide a tuple with 2 items, and items are time. For example, I'm going to say from 11:30 and to time, for example, 16. So this way, you can see we can use a time. It's very good and also a cool feature. The step is 15 minutes. You can use time delta as the step. And also we can use it for our date time. And also set the format for the date time. Let's see how we can do this. I'm gonna comment this one, and this time from date time, I'm gonna import date time, or just we can import date time. Now I'm gonna say start date. It's equal to st.slider. When, ask a question, when do you start? And here, as for the value, we need to provide a date time object. Value date time. For example, I'm going to start with 20, 25, comma 1, 1, and comma 9, 30. So by default, it shows just the date part. You can see it's 25, and it starts from a year before. You can also provide min and max date, and I'm going to use format. For format, I'm going to say I want 2 months, 2 day, and 2 for years, a space, dash, and hour. I need hour and minutes also to be visible here. So you can see the format applied to the slider and inside the output. And also you can provide some step, and you need to use time delta when you're working with date and time in your slider. And also you can use range for your time and date slider. It's very powerful, and you can make use of them in any way that you want. So this is enough for this session. We've learned how to work with text input, text area, number input, and slider, and also a couple of methods to write information for user to the output. I hope you enjoyed. Till next session and checking another widget inside Streamlit. Goodbye.